Where'd you hit him with the broom? Like what parts of his
The
body?
head and the neck and the legs, mostly.
A father brutally attacked by his own son in the home they shared for years. This isn't just a tragic incident. It's a stark reminder of how untreated mental illness can destroy families from the inside out. Donald Streeter, 69, was left to die after an argument with his 30-year-old son, David. The rage that exploded in their cluttered, chaotic home on Robinwood Avenue was years in the making. But what led to this shocking crime? Was it an unmanageable home environment? A lifetime of untreated mental health struggles? Or was it something deeper, an invisible force that took control at the wrong moment? Before we dive into the story, let me ask you, what do you think happens when mental health goes untreated for far too long? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe for more true crime stories that make you think twice. The events that led to Donald Streeter's death didn't begin with a single act of violence. They were years in the making. His son, David Streeter, 30, had long struggled with severe mental health conditions: ADHD, Asperger's, OCD, and bipolar I disorder. These disorders required structure and stability, needs that clashed with the chaotic state of their home on Robinwood Avenue. The space was so cluttered it made daily routines almost impossible, constantly triggering David's need for order. Experts have linked hoarding environments to worsening symptoms in people with OCD and bipolar disorder. For David, the disorder in the home wasn't just frustrating, it was mentally and emotionally overwhelming. Over time, that pressure built up. On the day of the attack, something disrupted David's routine again. According to police, an argument broke out, details unclear, but the result was devastating. David, pushed past his breaking point, lashed out. He beat his father with a metal broom handle and his fists. Afterward, he didn't call for help. Instead, he gave Donald pain meds and prayed, frozen by fear, guilt, and confusion. This tragedy was the product of untreated mental illness, a toxic environment, and years of missed intervention, ending in a son taking his father's life in a moment he couldn't take back. These are the haunting details of how 69-year-old Donald Streeter was beaten to death in his own home in Riverside, Dayton.
In the legs, mostly.
Okay, what did he do after you hit him?
He was
But what's
apologizing.
even more unsettling is this. The man calmly answering police questions about the murder wasn't a stranger or intruder. It was Donald's own son, David Streeter. And the reason David gave for ending his father's life only adds to the tragedy. Everything began on February 9, 2020, when Nancy K. dialed 911 and reported a disturbing scene.
911, what's the address of your emergency?
There's a possible DOA inside of 5422 Robinwood
Okay.
Avenue.
Are you there, or do you know who's here, or why do you think they've passed?
I'm with the wife who just arrived home. Her son is inside, and her son said he thinks his father has passed. She has not gone inside yet. She's afraid to.
By the time the call ended, first responders were already on their way. But when they arrived, they were met with a scene that defied belief. The back door barely budged open. Inside, they found the house buried under 2 feet of garbage, wall to wall. In the back bedroom, the true horror waited. Donald Streeter's body was found face up on a mattress, partially hidden under piles of clutter. His mouth was bloodied, and his body was covered in extensive bruising and visible injuries. From the stiffness of his limbs, it was clear he had been dead for several hours. With the body discovered, officers turned their attention to David Streeter, who was outside, casually speaking to an officer. There was no panic in his voice, no signs of distress. Since he wasn't exhibiting threatening behavior, he was placed in the back of a patrol car, without handcuffs, and brought in for questioning. At the station, David appeared unfazed. Cooperative. He even accepted snacks and ate them casually. Detective Abney, the lead investigator, approached the interview with a light touch, friendly, conversational. Put David at ease enough to talk. What he didn't expect, however, was that this conversation would end up unraveling the entire case.
He was given.
All right, David. I'm Detective Abney. You can call me Travis. I'd shake your hand, but I've got a cold and I don't want to make you sick, okay? I've got some questions I want to ask you. We're doing an investigation. Because we're in a police station, okay? I want you to know you have rights. Are you familiar with Miranda rights? Okay. I want to get through those. That doesn't mean you're going to jail or anything like that. I just have some stuff I want to talk to you about, okay?
Yep.
I don't know the whole story of what's going on, and
Because David
hopefully you
hadn't
can fill
asked
in
for an
those
attorney, Abney moved straight into questioning. But as the conversation went on, things started to feel off. Some of the things David shared about his life didn't quite add up. When he began talking about his relationship with his father, the underlying tension became clear. Things had been rocky between them for a long time. Abney gently shifted the discussion to the day of the incident. What David revealed next only deepened the strangeness of the case.
All right, I'm writing down that you're being interviewed in regards to the crimes of a homicide investigation, and I don't want that to scare you. It's just whenever we find a dead body, it gets treated that way. I'm not saying that's what it is, but that's what we're investigating, okay? And I don't want that to freak you out or anything like that, okay? So I'm going to give you that sheet right there and give you a pen. So this is what we're going to do. Before you initial anything, I want you to make sure that you fully understand what I'm reading you, okay?
His explanation for the attack was bizarre, and only grew more unsettling with each word. But before that story could come together, Abney needed to walk through every detail of the day leading up to the murder. David admitted that his father's final hours were painful and violent.
How old are you?
30.
How tall are you?
6'3".
A lot taller than me. I'm short. I'm only about 5'6". So I'm kind of jealous of tall people. How much do you weigh?
I don't know the point. 360.
Between the two of them.
I'm kind of curious as to what happened. How did the police get called to the house?
Because he stopped breathing yesterday. After we got into it, we've been getting into it for many years.
Are you referring to your dad?
Yeah,
What's your dad's name?
Don.
The first
How old
attack had come with a metal broom. But that wasn't the end of it.
You said you got into it. What happened?
We had disagreement. We do a routine all the time. He wasn't following it, and we got angry with each other over it.
Well, tell me about that. What was your routine that he didn't follow?
As in, we always do a routine where we pray together and everything, and he didn't follow that.
Okay. So are you religious?
Somewhat, yes.
Are you what is
I was raised Catholic.
Catholic? Okay. Many Catholics in my family also.
Oh.
So you guys, when do you typically pray with each other?
In the morning, and he used to do exercises.
Okay. What did he break his routine for?
I have no idea. He had a skin infection too and was itching, and I was not happy about that because he had MRSA.
MRSA. So you were in his bedroom. You got mad that he wasn't following the routine, which was to do the morning prayers and
exercises and not to itch and all that.
Mm-hmm. And then you got mad and you just hit him?
Yeah, and then we were hitting each other.
What did you hit him with?
The broom.
The broom?
Yeah.
Just minutes later, David lashed out at him again.
What kind of broom? Is it like a wooden broom or a metal?
It's a fuller brush.
Yeah. Okay.
And I wasn't trying to kill him.
Oh, I understand.
Let's be honest about that.
Mm-hmm.
And he's threatened to hurt me before.
Yeah. What?
Many times.
Where'd you hit him with the broom? Like what parts of his body?
The head and the neck and the legs, mostly.
Okay. What did he do after you hit him?
He was apologizing later for all the stuff he had ever done to me.
After you hit him?
Yep.
And what were you doing when he was apologizing?
Not believing him.
Did that make you mad did you feel he was not?
I felt like he was lying because he was saying stuff like he was dreaming about dying and this and that, and that's a true statement. He actually started moving around and weird.
Okay. So you hit him in the head, the neck. Did you hit him in the face? And it was all with. Did you hit him with anything else or just the broom? Were you hitting with it with your fist or anything?
Yeah, I think so. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I did.
You did hit him with your fist. All right. Is that how you got those marks on your hand?
Yeah, I think he tried to.
Said he'd rationalized the violence, claimed it stemmed from PTSD, something he believed was rooted in his childhood trauma. He spoke of long-standing patterns, frequent arguments, and what he called triggers his father knowingly set off. David said his father had been in poor health, and when he stopped breathing, David claimed he simply didn't know what to do. Throughout the interview, Abney remained composed and non-threatening. That tone worked. David continued to talk, openly, almost casually, about every detail of the tragic outcome.
That he was gonna die. That's basically what he said. That he saw, that he had a dream, that he was dreaming, and the whole thing, he said, was a dream. The fight was a dream. That's what he said.
Okay. Did that make you mad?
Yeah.
Did you hit him again? And when you hit him again, what'd you hit him with the second time?
More the fist the second time.
More the fist?
Than the broom thing. They did use it again, though. That's being honest.
You did use the broom a second time?
Yeah.
Where'd you hit him the second time?
In the face, I think.
Did he stop breathing after the second time?
He didn't stop breathing right away after that, no.
How long after did he stop breathing?
I have no idea. But he was squirming around and yelling stuff out, and it wasn't to stop or anything. He was yelling out weird stuff. And he was saying, I don't know what's next, or what the next step is. I don't know what he was talking about.
But there was still one thing Abney needed to understand: what happened in the hours after Donald died. David's responses were vague, contradictory at times.
Childhood.
And it's been going on for a while that we get mad at each other. And he knew what triggers. I have PTSD.
Okay. What's that from?
My childhood.
Your childhood? What happened in your childhood?
Well, I've been living in a filthy house for many years. And that's another thing.
Is that another thing that made you angry yesterday?
I think it may have, yes.
Behavior.
He wanted me to get him food and water, so I gave him chocolate, and because he had low blood sugar. We both had low blood sugar when this happened. And that's when we go off and get angry with each other. We do stupid things like that.
Do you think your blood sugar was low and that's why you got mad?
That's contributed to it, yes. Not just being angry.
So you said he asked for some food
and pills.
And after you hit him?
The main event, yes.
Okay.
And I complied and I helped him.
Okay.
And as he was not in very good condition.
When you say wasn't in good condition, what do you mean by that?
He was having low blood sugar. He needed to eat something.
Was he bleeding?
Yeah.
From where?
The head and the hand. Yeah, and I didn't want to leave him, and I couldn't find, my phone was not with me at the time, or I would have gotten help. And I do not remember all of the CPR techniques that I learned in school either, or I would have done that. I tried breathing on his mouth, and at least once. And he kept saying he was having trouble breathing. And that he forgave me. Or he was asking me for forgiveness, actually.
Okay. Does he have a phone in his room?
He doesn't use a phone.
He doesn't. Is there a home phone at all?
There used to be. It stopped working.
Oh.
We're dysfunctional.
Oh, okay. A lot of families are, so don't feel bad about that.
Well, it's been going on too long. And we're all mentally unstable because
He talked about routine, about frustration, about his father being dishonest. This all happened nearly a full day before police even found Donald's body. So Abney pressed again. What exactly did David do after realizing his father was dead? The answers only got stranger. David admitted he didn't immediately call for help, not because he didn't care, but because he was afraid. He feared dealing with the police alone, without his mother by his side.
Day of the week is it, do you know?
Sunday,
So this all happened Saturday?
early Saturday till 10-something in the morning.
Did anything happen like the day before on Friday? Was there any fighting that day too?
There might have been. But it was over the routine too. That's what mostly it's been about. And that he won't be honest. And hasn't been.
Who do you call for help when there's an emergency?
Doesn't have one, except now.
If you did have an emergency, what number would you dial?
Probably my mom. That's who I called after he stopped breathing.
You did so?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Because I was able to uncover it was buried in the hallway because it was cleaning up. I didn't have it in my pocket when we were fighting.
So let's go back to that phone call that you made to your mom. He had stopped breathing at that point. What did you tell your mom?
That I think he was dead.
You thought he was dead? Okay. And what did she tell you to do?
To get help, but I didn't want, and I'll tell you why I didn't. I didn't want to be alone without her present, because I felt like I was so scared and I was depressed, and I didn't want to do something behind her back, and that's the truth. I wanted her to be there when I did it because I was scared.
What you say her name is again? Becky?
Yeah.
Becky Streeter. So did you tell her you were scared and?
I said and I also needed to clean up a path. That was the other thing.
You needed to clean up a bath?
Path.
A path. Okay.
And I had to wash the stuff off of me too.
When you say this stuff, what are you talking about?
Blood from him and take care of these.
Do you have any injuries anywhere else on your body?
No, just the legs and the hands.
Okay. And then after you got cleaned up and stuff, what did you do the rest of the day?
Cleaned up the hallway and fell asleep. I've been falling asleep. And he said there's something wrong with me and I need to find out what it was. That's what he kept saying. Something's wrong with you. You need to get figured out because you never used to act this way. That's what he said.
Did that make you mad?
Somewhat, yeah, it has been. But I've been having headaches. A lot.
His next actions veered far from the norm. And this behavior wasn't isolated, it was a pattern. By now, it was becoming clear that David had struggled with severe mental health challenges.
I've been sleeping in the hallway.
In the hallway?
Yep, because of the dysfunctionality.
Yeah. So, how long do you sleep for?
Till later in the day.
And then what happened? What'd you do when you woke up later in the day yesterday?
I ate and cleaned up more.
Was there a lot of blood?
I didn't try to clean up the blood, except when he was alive. I was just cleaning it off of me afterwards.
Cleaning it off of you, okay.
And not trying to get rid of anything or anything. It was just a mess.
Yeah.
I had open sore and his blood got on me, and I didn't want to get any germs because he's had MRSA, and I don't. That's why I wear gloves, because I have a CD and I don't want to get infected.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And he wears gloves all the time too, because of the infection, because he was recovering.
Can I see your hands? I want to take a couple photographs of that if you don't mind.
His dependency on his mother, his compulsive routines, his belief that PTSD stemmed from the hoarded chaos of the house. These were all signs of deeper issues. But the roots went even further back. Earlier in the interview, David had described a disturbing childhood, one marked by instability and neglect. This background offered a possible explanation for his fractured emotional responses. Despite how calm David seemed during questioning, the weight of his confessions, both spoken and written, was undeniable.
Who would you call for an emergency? What number would you dial if there was an emergency?
Maybe 911.
Okay. Have you ever had to call 911 before?
No, but my mom has.
Okay.
He knocked her down when I was little. He hit her, knocked her on her bottom.
Tell me about that. Did that upset you when that happened?
Well, she called the police. She had it documented. It's probably in the records.
Mm-hmm.
He's been abusive to her and to me my whole life. Verbally, physically, emotionally.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, buddy. That's tough. It's tough on a young person for sure.
And I've had depression and mental illness.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to take medicine for it for a long time, but then it caused side effects where I was getting headaches and a whole bunch of stuff. So I had to stop taking those, and I've been doing pretty good, except until that tornado happened.
Yeah.
Which was right in our front yard practically.
If you wouldn't mind, just take your time, and you've got very nice handwriting. Just tell me, page by page, what happened between you and your dad, okay? And what led to him to stop breathing, and just be honest with me like you were, when you told me. Just kind of, it helps.
Write the date.
Don't worry about those boxes. No, you don't have to do that. We'll fill that out for you. And then at the bottom of each page, I want you to sign it and then put the date, okay? And the date is
the witness one?
Yeah.
The 9th.
The 9th, correct. Yep. All right, you work on that. You take as much time as you need. If you want to eat your food, go ahead. You can eat it now.
Is this like a deposition?
It's just a statement, just like everything you told me. It's just we would like to see it in writing too, if you're willing to do that. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Knock on the door if you need anything. Okay.
The police now had everything they needed to file charges. Still, they handled David with care, knowing that pressure might push him into a volatile state. Meanwhile, the investigation wasn't over. Many of the details David had shared still needed to be corroborated. And there was one person who could help: his mother, Rebecca Streeter, or Becky. On the same day David was being interrogated, Becky was interviewed by another detective, Todd. She had been with Nancy Kay, the woman who made the 911 call. The fact that Becky had been living away from the home was surprising, especially given how dependent David was on her for basic tasks. But her explanation added yet another tragic layer. Becky had been torn between the needs of her sick husband, her emotionally unstable son, and her ailing sister. She made the difficult decision to care for her sister temporarily, but the guilt still hung heavy. She recounted what happened the next day, when she returned home on February 9th. But something caught Detective Todd's attention. When David first contacted Becky, she wasn't even sure if Donald was alive or not. So why didn't she call 911 the moment she knew for sure? Her answers satisfied the detective, and there was no indication that she had any role in Donald's death. Even so, her interview helped paint a clearer picture of Donald's final hours, of David's fragile mental state, of the volatile father-son dynamic that ultimately led to the tragic outcome. She spoke about David's everyday struggles, how he couldn't even place a grocery order on his own. So when he didn't call 911 immediately, it wasn't out of malice. According to Becky, David felt he needed to clear a path through the mountains of garbage before emergency responders could even reach the room. And yet, even knowing how deeply her son struggled, Becky was still shaken by what had happened. Especially since, just days earlier, their interactions had been warm, almost hopeful. In the days that followed, David became fixated on the detective's alleged conflict of interest, a distraction that had no real bearing on his situation. Recognizing the severity of his condition, David was given access to mental health care professionals.
Dad isn't, I think he was breathing, but not. I said, then you need to call someone about it. He said, we had a big fight, but I didn't ask him any more thing. I wanted to, I can tell you how long I was on the phone with him, 1 minute and 38 seconds, because I wanted to get off so he can make the call.
Okay. You were in Inglewood, right?
Yeah.
Did you even think about calling us from Inglewood,
No.
saying it was there? Just never crossed
Because
your
I
mind?
figured they would ask me what happened, and with no information,
Okay.
not being there, what could I tell them? He's the only one that can tell you,
Okay.
because he was there. I was not there. So I'm focused on getting either stuff taken out of my tote bag to take home and stuff I have to take back to my sister. And I said, I told them they need to work out their problems, because I can't have that kind of stress.
Yeah.
I already have enough on my plate and my sister's. That's why I've encouraged them to try to get help, on their own, to get
Both of
counseling.
them?
Yes.
So they really do kind of not get along, is what you're
Yeah.
trying to tell me.
Sunday, when I found the back doors, both of them locked, I knew that, I guess already, that he was still there, because if not, just one lock would be done. Somebody had to be inside. So I went in. My plan was to get my computer and any related thing with it. And my tax pin, because I told them I was going to do our taxes. I still have a couple of documents out, but I was going to do them at my sister's. She also has a printer we don't have a printer that works. So I was taking everything over. I discovered my son there. And I asked him if he still had not made it. I think he was sleeping or something. He popped awake, and I said, I'll set my stuff and get my stuff out of here, but as soon as I get done, I'm making the call, because somebody has to make the call. And Nancy offered to do it for me. She was sitting next to me. She's the one that called the police.
By November 2020, David Streeter pleaded guilty to involuntary manslaughter in Montgomery County Common Pleas Court. He was sentenced to 11 years in prison. A tragic ending to a long, painful story. The death of Donald Streeter wasn't just the result of one violent outburst, it was the culmination of years of emotional instability, unaddressed mental health struggles, and a toxic family dynamic left unchecked. One of the clearest lessons is this: untreated trauma doesn't just fade with time. It grows in silence. And when support systems fail, whether through neglect, fear, or avoidance, the consequences can be irreversible. David Streeter didn't just need help after the murder. He needed it years before, when he struggled with basic emotional regulation, when his relationships spiraled into dependency, and when his environment began collapsing under the weight of hoarding and dysfunction. And while this story is deeply personal, it also reflects a broader issue: how mental illness and family breakdowns can be invisible until tragedy strikes. No one ever expects violence in the home. But the warning signs are often there, buried under routine, denial, or shame. It takes courage to speak up, to ask for help, or to intervene before it's too late. In the end, Donald's death is a stark reminder that silence, when paired with suffering, can become deadly. And that real prevention often starts, not in the courtroom, but in honest conversations, accessible mental health care, and a community willing to notice when someone is slipping through the cracks.